Hi, friends. Do us and yourselves a favor and check out our affiliate, 3 Spirit Drinks. They create plant-based, non-alcoholic elixirs that are cruelty-free and vegan, and they are designed to give you some of the benefits of alcohol without the hangover and other side effects. If you're looking to cut down on alcohol but still want the buzz, check them out. The link is us.3spiritdrinks.com and use the promo code TheActivityContinues for 15% off your entire order.
Hi, Ghosty fam. Welcome to the Activity Continues podcast. If you're new here, we are friends and soul sisters who recap episodes of the TV show The Dead Files and talk about other creepy shit, as well as TV shows we're watching, TikToks we're watching, things that happen to us, toddler stories, you name it, we talk about it. I'm Megan.
And I'm Amy. Thanks for joining us. We have a very special guest joining us today, live. Her name is Leah. Remember last week when we talked about our friend, UFO Mary, who wants to be called Abductee? Abductee Mary. She mentioned so chalantly in conversation that she has a friend who was a something, and we didn't want to tell you what it was just yet. Well, she's a shaman, and she's also a psychic and a medium. So we're getting 3 for 1 today.
When you told me that, Amy, I told everybody I work with, and they just had this blank stare, and I'm like, trust me, it's real cool. It's really cool. Yeah. We're super excited to talk to her, but first, say hello to AP. She's our newest teammate. Hi, Amy.
Hey. Well, I am also excited to talk to Leah about, I don't even know what's going to come up. So that's our content warning is we don't know what we're going to talk about or what we're going to come into.
But it's going to be
awesome. So I'm sure there'll be stuff put into the show notes if there's any content warning. But we do have a few episodes that Amy and Megan have covered that where Amy Allen had talked about suggesting a shaman. There are several, but these were just a few that were covered by Amy and Megan, which is Evil Comes Home that Amy covered in episode 62, which is Leave Mine Alone, the Dead Files episode, season 11, episode 6. Megan covered in episode 59, The Devil's Bidding, which is the Dead Files episode, season 3, episode 7, Alone with the Darkness. And Amy also covered way back in episode 10, You Will Be Mine, which is the Dead Files, Milestones and Brain Hats, season 6, episode 8. So, without further ado.
Yeah. Well, let's bring her in. Oh, there she is. I was just going to text her. Here she is. Oh, we need a drum roll. Hi.
Hi, Leah.
Hello.
I love your earrings, by the way.
I was just going to say this.
They're very fun.
Are they agates?
They're hand beaded, so I like to pick up little goodies on my travel journeys, and they are one of the ones that I got along the way. So
love it.
All right. They're very fun, gorgeous.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I'm Amy.
Nice to put a face with a name. Now.
Yeah, I'm the one that's been connecting with you, and then we also have AP, who's also an Amy.
Hi.
Hello.
And Megan.
Hi. Nice to meet
you.
Megan,
Amy, AP.
We're very excited.
Yeah. We're super excited to talk to you.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
I honestly didn't think we would ever find a shaman to talk to. And when Mary's like, so I have this friend and she's really cool and she's a shaman. And I'm like, wait, stop right there. Wait a minute.
She just mentioned it like you were like, oh yeah, I'm going to the grocery store later. And...
Well, it's appropriate. For me, that's kind of the way it is. It's like, it's how life has always been. So I don't really know another way. So it's just like, oh yeah, I joke with people and they're like, oh, what do you do? I'm like, oh, I do an assortment of things. I talk to dead people. I play with magic, No big deal.
As one would do.
I love it. All interesting stuff.
Yes.
So
yes.
One of the things I wanted to ask, you kind of just answered, but you've always done this. Did you like when you were a child? Did you already know you had abilities and all that stuff?
Yeah, so it was probably I think 5 years old the first time I saw a fully formed apparition in front of me, and then didn't really know what was going on. It was one of those challenging things, and I grew up where there was a little bit of fostering it in some cases, and then in other cases it was, no, we don't talk about that publicly. It's okay that you do that. But I was raised Catholic originally, and so there was a lot of like direct conflicts as it pertained to quote unquote regular normal people being able to communicate with spirits, energy, all that kind of stuff. So it's been there with me the whole time. It's just been a matter of, took me until, I don't even know. It's been probably about 10 to 12 years that I've been more open about it. And then just in the last few years, actually putting the services on my website of mediumship and shamanism and working with energies and transitioning spirits. And so that, it's kind of that space of, I had to kind of come out into the real world here and say, okay, this is what I do, and it's okay if you don't get it. Yeah. But it's all really my authentic truth and my experience. And so I think that, it's been quite a journey in that respect. So
that's great.
Definitely the skill set's there. So,
Leah, within that being raised Catholic, because I also was, were you in the Catholic school system or? Yeah,
I was for a chunk of time. I was like public school, Catholic school, public school. And so I was kind of unique in that I didn't always know I was channeling or communicating or like hearing the messages I would receive and hear inside. I didn't necessarily know when I was younger that it was spirits talking to me, wanting to get messages across. So I would just like say these things that I thought were just, this is in my, my mind or whatever. And then people's eyes would get really big and they'd kind of give me a strange look. And I'm like, I'm okay. I'm talking to someone who but I don't know that. And so, it wasn't something I really talked about. And there were things that happened with friends and other people in the community back then where, there was a little bit of shunning and a little bit of trying to shut me down. And I did end up, for quite some time, really, really keeping the gifts close to my chest and not saying anything unless I really felt like someone was safe and accepting. And so that is very typical too with people I work with to kind of help cultivate these gift sets. So it's actually quite normal, unfortunately, that a lot of people do have these gifts and just haven't had them nourished or haven't had the space for them to be nourished. So
I feel like that's very common, especially in those Catholic school systems and K through 8 with through that. And can't say that I have gifts like that, but I definitely have had why are you saying that you shouldn't know, you shouldn't be talking about stuff like that, that's over your head, you don't know that.
A lot of dismissing when we do. Like I mean I really feel like all of us do have a gift set that we're born with, and if we're given that space we can naturally foster it and make it so much stronger and really tap into it. So it's just working on changing the dynamic of how we with our children is part of my mission here, among other things.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Well, that's great.
For sure.
And that's kind of what we want to do too, is just like let people hope to, I don't want to say educate people because I don't know that much, but to bring people on like you who can explain things in a way that people can understand and maybe they won't think it's so weird or whatever, and just make it be more like normal stuff that we talk about and that we can have access to and go see people like you and find out where animal totems are and all of that, which I am fascinated with.
Yes, there's so much self-discovery to be had in that realm.
What just happened?
Yeah. Oh. I don't know, you froze.
My screen just went dark. I'm like, what's happening? Okay, so anyway. We're all animal people here. We all love cats and dogs and all sorts of animals. So that's all. something really interesting. Yeah.
Well, something I saw that was really interesting, Leah, on just kind of going through your website, obviously not knowing you at all, is it earth medicine healing and that sort of stuff, which is really interesting to me because I've never heard that before, that term. But I connected to, like, I have found I reset completely when I go out into take a hike, go by myself. I actually have my take a hike shirt on because that's where I was this weekend, was doing some of that in northern Wisconsin.
Awesome.
Just curious a little bit about what that means to the lay people like us.
Yeah. So I use the term earth medicine, which is very kin to shamanism itself. So because I had the skill set and I grew up in a household where we were outside all the time. We camped, we were in nature. My dad taught me how to track animals and how to ID trees and plants. And, there was just so much being steeped in the natural environment growing up. And I had built a very deep kinship with it. So one of the ways I like to work with it is I like to help open people's eyes to exactly what you're saying, how just going out and taking a walk or going to the park or just taking 5 minutes to like breathe outside and connect with the earth that really, the earth sustains us, right? It's like all of our food comes from here. Everything's producing the air that we're breathing and all of that stuff. And so the earth medicine is about reconnecting to the earth, reconnecting to our most primal and organic states of being one with the plants, the animals, the environment, so that everything we're doing with such a deep state of consciousness with the goal of like not taking more than we need, cleaning up after ourselves as we move forward, understanding that every single animal and insect and plant serves a very crucial role as part of the whole for our survival. And it's like I have so many fun conversations in the earth medicine realm with people about insects because it's the one. And I'm an ally and an advocate in many ways for many different types of groups of beings, I'll say. And insects are one of those. Like, I love them. I love talking about them. I love getting people outside in nature to see just how amazing everything is when you can actually take the time to stop and just watch things happen around. So that's one of the things I do, exercises like that a lot. And I do one-on-one sessions with people and then take groups out where we just look at, diving into our sensory perception in nature and what do we feel and what happens when we take our shoes off and we walk on the grass and on the dirt and in the water, to really just see how quickly we can reset. And I've had people within minutes be able to just be like, oh my gosh, I feel totally different. And then we go a little bit deeper. We stay at least an hour or so. And then it's like, they usually will respond saying, well, I'm not having all these thoughts in my head anymore. And I'm feeling really peaceful and calm. And like, I can go tackle whatever I need to tackle next. And so a lot of the earth medicine is really rooted in that connection. And because it's like my way of being, it is so much easier for me to transfer that consciousness to people through me taking them out and showing them things that maybe they didn't even realize were there. And it just starts awakening things, and appreciation. So,
and I'm sure it's such a wonderful feeling for you when you get that feeling from them where you bring somebody out and they're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And you just kind of pat yourself on the back and done again. I'm great.
I have that one little pat on the back. Meg and Amy, you both know Tori. Tori hated being outside. I took her hiking last fall once, and then this spring she goes, I think I want to go hiking some more. It's like, you hate bugs, you hate being outside.
Yes.
You've mentioned that, but I was like, who are you? And I love it.
That's awesome.
Very cool. Yeah, and that's just it. It's like, it can be so simple, but so powerful, just extra, the more ways we can find to connect with our environment where it doesn't cost us anything and it just literally helps us feel a deeper sense of connection. And the word I often use is like stewardship, where we feel the stewardship for all life and the importance and value of that, which I feel just transcends then in making it easier to put that out into other humans that we have to come in contact with. Because the gateway is much gentler through the environment and animals. They're easier to love most of the time. So.
And not only that, it's just the physical health and, you know, how good it is for your actual body, not just your mental health, your spiritual health, but there's no downside to it. I say that, and yet I do not hike, so I'm just throwing that out there. But I like to go sit outside and like read or sit in the sun, but I'm not. Amy's like, I have one of my childhood friends I've been friends with for 30 plus years. She's like, I'm just gonna go on a quick 10-mile hike, and I'm like, I'm just gonna sit here and not
I'll think about you while you're out there on that hike.
Yeah, I'll send you thoughts and prayers, but I'm gonna be here. Not doing a 10-mile hike. But good for you.
You don't have to do 10 miles for it to be effective.
No, I had heard recently that if you just go outside and put your feet in the ground, just for like 10, 15 minutes, you'll automatically, it's like a grounding thing. You feel better. And so I started.
Yeah, isn't it called grounding?
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, right?
Well,
yeah,
one
my
of the
friend
terms,
was telling me about
earthing is another term that's used often.
Okay. But yeah, I'm not an outdoorsy person really at all, because I am very allergic to mosquitoes, and they love me. So I try not to be near mosquitoes any more than I have to. But I have been, of course, when I read about this, it was winter, and I'm not going to go stick my feet in the snow. So I waited till it was nice out. But now every day I go out, I sit we have a swing, bench swing outside. I go sit there, take off my shoes, and stick my feet right in the dirt, and just sit there and close my eyes and think about it while the dogs are running around. And it really does. I don't know if reset is the word, but it makes me feel more like I'm part of it, part of the ground and part of the dirt. And I look down and there's an ant crawling on my foot, and I'm like, oh, hey, buddy. But I never have done that before. I never used to do that until just this summer, and it really does make a difference. It's a calming
Leah
thing.
I have a question for you, and
absolutely.
I apologize if nobody's asked you this, but I've researched, what is a shaman? Like, can you explain that a little bit? Because I've tried, I just don't understand, and I'm so sorry.
No, I know you ladies are just meeting me essentially for the first in-person space and time, but I love different questions and being able to speak to it. I can speak to it from myself and my understanding and how I work with it. There are different types of shamans, and there's a lot of weavings where, depending on how someone is raised, initially it would have been someone coming from an indigenous culture would be, there's always a shaman as part of the collective to help navigate the unseen realm is the language that we often use. So it's like the planes between the living and the dead, the physical, non-physical, whatever language you want to use is cool. But it's essentially someone who knows how to see into this world and that world, and or someone who can hear and communicate. And we often act as sort of liaisons. So it's like we work to protect against, maybe more malicious energies, which isn't something that, and even my sort of theories about a lot of that has changed over the years in my experience. But to also help transition people. So I've done work in hospice care. So when people are about ready to leave their physical body, that transitionary space, sometimes we get confused when we go from physical to non-physical. And so shaman's roles are really meant to help work between the worlds is another way that we'll say it in the shamanic teachings. So yeah, it can be just working with spirits. It can be opened up into the healing realm, doing journeying, trance states, going and helping guide people to different planes of consciousness through guiding them inward. But they're essentially, you go in, but you're more expanded and connected with the whole of the universe. So, and then, sometimes healers and other vibes in there too. Like my specialty is more in the healing realm. Helping spirits transition and helping people clear their homes and learn how to navigate their skill sets too. Like I work with, take on people sometimes to help them with their gifts. So like mentoring other intuitives and things like that. And that's often the role of a shaman is to help teach the next generation of them as well. So in the original cultures, we would have done that, and there would have been specific people who had a base skill set who would have been trained and prepared to take on that role as part of the community. So
thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, it does.
Good. I'm glad you asked that, Megan.
Yeah.
All right. Do you want to, Leah, talk about any of the things like you mentioned? You touched a little bit on some of the services that you do. I don't mean to make this sound like an ad for your business or anything, but I want you to be able to explain like what you do in case anybody is interested in taking you up on any of that.
Absolutely. No, I love to, and I'm always very much. I'm not a strong sale kind of person. I can sell things. However, I like people to just have experiences. So a lot of what I do is really working with people to help them connect with themselves, connect with the earth, and find ways to really enjoy being here on the planet. I'm a firm believer that we choose to come here. We want to have an experience. And in that, we kind of, get distracted by different things, collective conditioning, all that kind of stuff. So I like to create opportunities. So I weave a lot of the things I do. So I am like a master level coach. And so I have like the neurological and neurobiological studying and psychology and things like that. And I weave that in with the earth medicine and addressing our energy bodies and our spiritual beliefs and being, and like weaving the totality of what we are to help maximize our experience here. So it's like, in a nutshell, I guess it's kind of the space of, I like to do things where it's like we're working one-on-ones if people are struggling with challenges in their life. They're trying to be in a job that they actually want to do, not feel like they have to get up and go do something. So in those cases, we often do like coaching stuff. Then I also do body work. So we work with the physical body, massage, energy balancing, cranial sacral to really reset the whole physical system. Because as you were saying, Amy, it's like it's our spiritual, it's our energy, it's our psychology. And so I have gone through different trainings so that I can actually address all of those worlds in a really holistic way. And I customize it to each person I work with. And then I love also adding on, like you mentioned, the animal totem readings or doing my mediumship to help people navigate the loss of loved ones and being able to really make peace with that. I do a lot of that kind of stuff, especially for people who have lost people to intense situations or unexpected illnesses, suicide, some of those more intense things. A lot of the work that I do is around trauma for people as well. So I take these different weavings and help people break through traumas and really work to provide a very safe and powerful place for transformation to happen. So I have a wide range of things that I offer within that, but my goal is I just want people to be able to heal beyond the things that they've experienced that were really intense and find ways to be like, I am so excited to be here. And I want to make like absolutely the most out of every single day that I have.
So Leah, follow-up question with that. I love all of that, but how do you decompress from hearing that trauma or working someone through that kind of thing? Because we all have our own empathic ways and like learning to set those boundaries intentionally so that you don't take on everybody else's stuff.
Bullshit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you hit that first point on taking care of ourselves. So there's a super basic technique that I use with myself and all of my clients that I'm working with, especially because I do attract a lot of empaths, and I help teach empaths how to be empaths in a way where they're not taking on a ton of things that are going to weigh them down, make them sick, all that kind of stuff. So we do what's called a golden bubble technique, where you envision that you are in like this completely sealed golden bubble. in which you set the parameters for what is allowed to cross that energetic barrier. And doing that going into sessions with people, for example, for me and anyone else, like before you go into a crowd, before you go into a social event where there might have been, you might have some fear coming up or might have some issues from the past kind of thing. So being able to put yourself in that helps you offset other people's energy, where it's like it hits the barrier and it's like, nope, and it falls away or it dissolves. So that's one prep thing that I do.
Sure.
And then on the back end of things, I am really into using plant medicine like sage, Palo Santo, cedar to cleanse my energy, physical spaces, using essential oils. I do like cleansing baths or soaks with like your exfoliating and salts and scrubs and things to help like physically clear. But nature is probably my biggest thing, where I work with people and it's like super intense and I hold it all in this beautiful, loving bubble and then offer what isn't mine to the universe to take care of, and then go out and ground and center myself and connect with the earth again, saying like, I'm so grateful I can hold this space for others, but it's not my trauma to carry. So, and I will say it took me a while to get there. There was a while where it was pretty intense. And so it is very much an integral part of the process. So.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah.
That's a tough one. I mean, I was just thinking of this weekend, I blew up over nothing. And I realized that I don't know that was necessarily me. Parts of it probably was, but there was literally no reason for it. But I was around a lot of people and a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and it's hard sometimes as an empath to know what's yours and what's the others, because we're all connected. And at the same time, it can be really challenging to be around that and not be reactionary. And that's some of the other stuff that I help people with, is like, how can we shift from reactionary to being conscious responders? So we know that we're saying and doing things from a place of love and compassion for ourselves and others, which does take a breathe, pause, then respond, not like it just like guns a-blazing, which we've all been there. It happens.
Yeah, it's
part of the experience.
Good advice for any day, anybody. Yeah, think before you speak. So many people don't, myself included. Sometimes.
It's easy to do sometimes.
Yep.
So crucial.
Where are you located?
Right now I'm in the Twin Cities, Minnesota.
Oh,
so
same.
I'm
Same.
You guys are all here?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, I believe this is, I was here before. I grew up in Wisconsin, was here for a chunk of years, and then for almost the last 2 years I've been nomadic. So I've been traveling Mexico, Central America, exploring some of the world.
Wow.
And pretty sure I'm landing here again in Minnesota and gonna work on building a physical space here.
Good.
So
no matter how many times you leave, the Midwest just sucks you back in. I was nomadic in my 20s. I moved to California and Tennessee and Florida, and then over in the Middle East for a couple of years, and back here I am.
Yeah.
No one has seasons like we do.
It's just
No, it's so true.
Well, right now we're in the sun season.
Well, today is nice.
It's been the devil's front porch lately, but
Yeah.
But
it's been awful.
I lived for a year in Kansas, and nothing to the people of Kansas, but where I was, it was the same color the 10 months that I was there.
Oh.
And it was just, I'm used to the rich colors of autumn which is my, getting that crisp, cool air coming in, and just
that's the best.
Going through all of that. And I've started
the smell of the leaves.
Yes, I've started to enjoy winter a little bit more by getting outside. By finding something to do. But there's just nowhere that has the seasons quite as distinct as the Midwest, I feel.
And it's cool to work with the seasons too. That's actually another really key component to the earth medicine too, is actually how can we harmonize how we live when we live in a place like this where it is still seasonal.
Makes sense, yeah.
And you can really start to see the cycles of birth and death and regeneration. And that's actually a lot of earth medicine technique, is how can you go through your own personal seasons of birth and death and regeneration and move within that. So it's especially powerful in a space like here where we get that, because it's bizarre. I was all in tropical environments over the winter, and it was wildly disorienting after having spent my entire life in the Midwest.
I imagine.
It's so weird. It's like 90 and it's Christmas.
Yep, that's how I felt in the Middle East, and I'm like, it's January 5th and I'm sweating.
Yeah.
Like, it's just weird, and there wasn't any snow on Christmas, and it's very much, like you said, disorienting and very unique.
Good bit.
So Leah, too, with I thinking about, like, we've got a new full moon coming up. I think it's the sturgeon.
The first, I believe.
Yeah, the sturgeon moon.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And, obviously there's lots throughout 13 throughout the year, but are there any ones that, like, any things that you connect with those, or anything that you share with people about different full moons? As it comes in?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. That's actually, I host a monthly moon ceremony. Ooh. Right now they're online because I've been traveling and have a lot of people who aren't just here in Minnesota. But I do harmonize with every full moon with the group, because what I've found, and there are some that are more powerful, August is actually, and so August 1st is the sturgeon full moon. And we then have a second one on the 30th of August. So that's a special space. And the second one is considered a blue moon because they only happen once in a blue moon. So, and that's when they occur 2 full moons in one calendar month.
Okay.
So there are going to be like more powerful or distinct ones. This, the sturgeon one is actually really cool because it weaves into the most abundant time of year for us here in the Northern Hemisphere. So it's when it's the most rich time for manifesting and for like harvesting, starting to harvest the full crops. And so it works with that really richly abundant energy. And so then especially powerful to have 2 in the same month, where in my experience, it like amplifies the energy. And it's like working with the moon can be really cool in terms of emotional balancing, because the moons affect the tide, and we are largely made up of water. And some of you may have heard this before, where it's like when the moon is full, it affects our emotional bodies because water is needed.
I'm a former teacher with middle school students.
I'm in HR.
We always, and my mom's a nurse.
ERs report, and there's hard evidence of the difference between all the other moons and the full. It's like a day before, day of, and day after. That 3-day window is like, it just calls a lot of things out of people.
Yep.
And
it's got to be where that werewolf aspect comes through.
I'm in HR, and anytime any stuff starts happening, we're like, is it a full moon? Because it does. Like, people just, they don't act like themselves, and they get, they just get, I don't want to say crazy, because that is a negative connotation, and, it's not, but they just act differently than they normally would.
Yes. Amplifies the dysfunction that's already there.
That's a great phrase. Yes. That should be put on a pillow.
Yeah. Amplifies the dysfunction. I like it.
Yeah. Like one of those like really fancy, like, lacy pillows and really
I
pretty
used to be a preschool
cursive
teacher. I saw that in the kids too.
Well, and that's why it's cool to see the balance that's achievable when you work with that power. So people are, this is the cool thing about it, is I always tell people, it's like, it's cool if you don't believe in this stuff, that's okay, but it doesn't mean you're not influenced by it. So you don't have to believe that the moon influences you to be influenced by it. But the cool thing is when you're at the very least open to that being a thing, and you can start using that energy. And like, I'll do a guided meditation for grounding, centering, and working with like, what are the main things that this particular moon is likely to stir up. Then you actually harness the energy rather than being essentially unconsciously influenced by it. So it's a way that we can sort of take a little more ownership over the experience, I guess.
So when you have these moon, I forget, did you call them moon ceremonies?
Yeah, moon ceremony, ritual.
You know, what goes into that? How would somebody get involved in that if they wanted to? Hint, it's me. What, you know, what is involved with that, and what, you know, is there a cost to it?
Yeah,
kind of what are the details?
Yeah, it is once a month. I do all of my listings on Eventbrite, and you don't have to have any experience prior. Each time is a little different. You register on Eventbrite, you get a link. It is I usually have it at $18 a month for an hour, and you just have to set aside an hour window. Is it?
Oh,
which isn't too bad. Yeah, I like to make things as accessible as possible because I need there to be an exchange of energy. Obviously, this is what I do for a living, and I do full time. Like, this is my business and my practice. So I try to make it accessible to as many people as possible. But you pop on, you get your link, and I usually encourage people to set yourself up at home in kind of a comfy location where, like, if it's just you or if there's other people in your space that are interested in doing it with you is cool. And then I do, at the beginning portion, I talk about the moon, I talk about the influences, the energies. I often share contemplations that are relevant about what it is that it's potentially influencing. Usually leave a few minutes for people to ask questions or share if there's something they're noticing they're really struggling with and they want some more specific support. I cater it often to the collectives attending. And many times with this, I'll do a little, maybe like a 10-minute channeling with oracle cards or just a direct channel from source for the group that's there. And then I do a guided, generally meditation type of thing. So I, you know, kind of do a talk through thing, and people can just be and receive and listen and have an experience. So super fun.
Yeah.
And powerful.
Cool.
Is there like a specific, you mentioned environment, does it need to be, I know I'm getting super cliche, but like candles and, you know, lights off, or, you know, is there any particular way that you've found works best for people to kind of take in that energy?
Always personal preference. I'll speak for myself, but I like to tell people to make it like create your own sacred space. And if that means to you candles, crystals, incense, cool. And if that means something different, like I have people that attend and they sit out in their backyard because they can get Wi-Fi out there, and they'll sit outside and listen, you know. And then I have other people that have their whole setup with their candles. I have had people attend where they had their camera off and they would lay in their bathtub with crystals and things in the tub. I just encourage people to find like whatever is going to help you feel connected and is like your way of setting aside that time as a gift to yourself. And I really look at it as self-care, where you're giving yourself that. So
I'm not gonna lie, this sounds like the more and more you talk, the more and more I want to do this. Like, it just sounds like such a good way to just reset and connect, and it just sounds amazing. So I'm
I like to set up. I don't do it 100% of the months, but most of the months I actually set up a really cool visual with candles and some of my crystals or little animals or other things too. So I kind of create a sacred space wherever I am leading it from, and then connect the energy. And I do always record them. So I've been saying this more to people, like if you can't join live, I do send the recording out with ticket purchase. So if you can't make it, but you still want to do it, or you want to just totally do it in your own private space and time, that is also available to people that maybe can't make it. I usually do it at 7 Central on the night of the full moon.
Okay.
Give or take a day, depending on what day of the week it falls on. So.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to look into that too.
Yeah, it just sounds like so relaxing, for like a lack of a better term. Just like, just, oh my God, it sounds so beautiful. I want to do it. So
I would love to have, I love new people coming in, joining in, and seeing the power that is possible for you, because it's so nice to be able to connect in that way and just feel more grounded and centered in yourself, but then to also not necessarily be less than positively influenced by the energy of the moon, because you're like being super conscious about it. And so many people have, come back and reported later, like, oh my gosh, I noticed this and this and this month after doing that. And so more people report seeing changes in other areas of their life, because a lot of times the guided processes I do are also designed to help you like release old thought patterns or programs or traumas or things that you've been carrying, but are actually ready to just shoot that right out. Like, don't need that anymore. Yeah. So there's so many different things I do weave into it to help facilitate more than just a relaxing time in the moment, but it's also right.
Right. Like moves on.
Well, it
carries it through.
One of those that it sounds like people grasp onto different parts that help them kind of reset things, like change a mindset, but you have to be intentional about those things. It's a lot of people, and we all know somebody or several people that just, I want it to change and I want it to change now, but you're not willing to do any of the work to get to that.
Nuts.
And I think, and I do feel like there have been a few people who are just like, well, I went and saw Jenny, and Jenny told me to do this. And and Jenny's a psychic that we've gone to, psychic medium that we've gone to. And she tells you right off the bat, like, it's all free will, and you still have paths to choose from. And people are like, well, why can't it just be the path where it gives me exactly what I want? It's because you have to
life
work
isn't
for it.
A
you
movie
have to put that
or
effort
a book
in.
Or a story or a fairy tale.
I mean, I wish it was sometimes, because I would write a better story.
I would write my romantic lead to be John Stamos.
John Stamos?
Of course you would.
Okay. I love it.
Yeah. He's perfect. Like, oh my. I just love
and
him
as someone
so
who
much.
helps people write their own stories, I would say go for it. Just don't be attached to it like John Stamos, but it doesn't mean it couldn't be a really solid lookalike. And like solid enough where you're like, thanks, universe. This will do.
Yeah.
Well, it's like that. This or something better. Maybe you get a John Stamos plus. Like a John Stamos with something a little extra added there.
Okay. First of all, Amy, I don't know what you're talking about, because how do you get plus John Stamos? You don't improve perfection, okay? It's silly.
Just saying, this is what I need to do to get away from all those stupid. I hate all the dating apps.
Yeah, it's rough.
I can't imagine.
Yeah.
It's not my jam either.
Terrible.
They're awful.
Amy went with me on my dating
and
app
it just seems like
journey,
too much.
and she got some great photos.
Oh, Megan and I worked together when she was on the dating apps, and she would come to work with these stories. And oh boy,
it's torture out there.
Yeah.
Y'all, I had one who I ordered a margarita pizza, and he looked at it and goes, "Is that chocolate sauce on pizza?"
Okay, no.
I said, "No, it's balsamic vinegar," and he looked at me with,
"No." Amy,
this date is over.
Somehow I was too nice. I was too nice, and I stayed there. And then I asked for my check, and then I walked out, and he was like,
dude,
like, no,
I'm sorry, no. Oh God.
No.
Well, his favorite restaurant was also a chain restaurant. I was like, "Do you go to anything other than?" He's like, "Well, I like Olive Garden, and I like this from Applebee's."
So
and
not
I like this from
original in
Chili's.
any
It's
sense
like,
of the word. His head would probably explode if he had original thought.
It is a challenging space for people. That whole if I don't fit into this, then I might not fit in. Then I might be looked at as weird, and
I'm starting to come to that. And
there's that space of like, well, why aren't you dating, or why aren't you with someone, or why, and it's like, can we stop the narrative that you have to be with somebody to have a fulfilling life? Sometimes when you're with someone,
I think
it's
that's
terrible.
huge.
Like, and stop asking people when they're going to have kids. and telling them they want kids. They just don't know they want kids. It's like, no, that's how you get people who have kids who hate their kids.
Exactly.
Or also, please quit saying it'll happen when it happens. It'll happen when you're least expecting it, for whether it's relationship or kids,
your
or
job,
whatever
or
it is.
whatever.
It's just
No. Sometimes
we went on a rant.
we went down a
sorry,
river, but
Leah.
a lot of this is actually relevant to the work that I do with people, because especially these stigmas around dating and being single and being married and having children. And it's something that I have helped a lot of people with, and something I navigate myself. It's like I've been through my own journey with a lot of that, and I'm currently a single woman without children. So it's like, people ask that all the time, and then I go into the backstory and they're like, oh, I'm sorry I asked, because they don't necessarily want to know. They just want to know, why don't you look normal according to my idea of normal. And it's I think so much about normalizing that it's okay for everybody to do life the way they want to do life.
Preach 100%.
Oh my God, it took me so long to figure that out.
Like, why does somebody have to be with another person to be happy or have I mean, I'm married and I have a child, but it's tough. And I'm not going to say, Amy, you need to get married to have the happiness that I have. And it's like, that's bullshit.
But, for me, I will say 7 years ago, I had all of my best friends got married. I was in most of their weddings, and I'm the oldest of everybody. Whew, it was the jealousy monster that came forward for me was intense. And I wish I could go back and redo that year at times, because there was, and even when my cousin had her first child, this intense jealousy came forward. And when I finally said something like, I don't expect any of you to put your, understand my feelings and how I am, but just know that sometimes I'm not going to be in conversations where you're all talking about your significant others. And I got it'll happen when it happens. I was like, no, I'm not asking for that. I'm just telling you that this is my boundary and this is how it is. But that came a couple years later, and I'm in my mid to late 30s now. But, at that time, it was that hard thing of being the firstborn daughter, the firstborn granddaughter on that side of the family, and oldest of all your friends, and they've all been in relationships for long periods of time, so there must be something wrong with you. You must be broken. There must be something. And that something is that I have opinions, boundaries. And I'm not a coddly little, I'm not going to just form into a housewife that somebody wants. And being an outdoors woman, I grew up hunting, fishing, camping, and I still do a lot of that. Doesn't put me into the side when I look at dating apps where a lot of people think I align politically. It's not. And so, you get all these things that's like, oh, you got 50 people waiting for you. I'm like, I bet I know what they look like. And
they're all holding a fish.
Yes. Oh, the amount of men on dating apps holding a fish is just take a shot every
I probably have fish that are bigger than theirs too.
But for sure.
This is my problem.
But
nonetheless, it's that whole jealousy aspect, and having to really, I don't know exactly when those moments hit of I need to change this, but it was I don't like who I'm becoming, and I need to do something different about it. And it took a lot of work, and it took a lot of me having to set some of those boundaries, and boundaries aren't always physical boundaries,
and people
which is hard for a lot of people
push our
to
boundaries.
Understand.
It's very normal for us to want things the way we want things, and to not even realize when we are crossing someone's boundary because we want our way. And so it's so I do so much boundary work, and not only creating, but then we have to talk about how do we maintain those boundaries, especially when it's uncomfortable and people that we really care about. And
how do I sign up for that?
Say, hey, Leah, I would love your help. Let me schedule a session for you to help me learn how to boundaries. It's whatever
I'm gonna do it
because
I have no boundaries.
And I teach classes on that too. I teach a few monthly classes where the topics rotate. One of them was setting and maintaining healthy boundaries. Nice. And I create really great worksheets that I send out to people. So it's you have stuff to work with. And to your point, AP, being able to set that stuff in motion, it takes work. And there's no easy button for life. As much as I would love for there to be one, there are faster ways to achieve this sort of stuff.
Right.
But it all stems with us being able to come to that space like you did with the jealousy, saying, I don't like this and I don't want this anymore. What am I willing to do? And what am I going to do to show up for myself to do something different? It's just about ownership, and it's hard when there's pride and ego and things like that involved for people to admit when we have perhaps not been in our most shiny space. Like, I biffed that one. I don't want to show up that way again. And to also, I encourage people to do that without self-judgment, because we're all where we are right now, and if we want to do better, we just, need to show up differently and do better.
Yeah.
So it's,
Yeah.
wow.
I appreciate all of that, Leah, and sorry for my verbal dump
I'll
of
let
everything.
you know a
But
little secret. That's what happens all the time around me. It's part of the role that this particular shaman fills. Is that the space of being able to hold a space of vulnerability, authenticity, and that's one of the things that I've really worked to harness myself by taking ownership of my own self and how I show up, and letting other people know there is no judgment. It's just, what do you need right now and how can I help you achieve that? And
That's excellent.
Perfect. Yep.
I think we were meant to be friends.
Not surprising that we're living in the same state right now and connecting.
We're just so you know, we're all leaving this friends. I hope you know that.
I am happy to welcome all of you into the beautiful circle that is Golden Phoenix Healing, and
Yes.
Yeah, I'm excited to look more
Fantastic.
into your classes. I definitely want to do the animal one. Can you explain to our listeners what that, what an animal totem is? I know that your website, it said that we are all born with 9, right? 9 animals. And what does that mean when we find out what they are? How has that changed how we think or feel or that kind of thing? Why would we want to do that?
Yeah. So we are, as you said, we're born with 9 at least. I will give that as the preface, at least 9. And what they do is they represent different aspects of us. So when I do the reading, it is done in if you've seen totem poles in indigenous cultures, you'll see the carvings and there's animals on there. So there's going to generally be tribal ones per se, but then there'll also be individual ones. And it doesn't matter if you're not indigenous in nature, we all have these guides with us. And so the way that I work with it is I help you see what direction. So there's an animal for the 4 directions: south, west, north, east. And then we look at one animal that sits below you, one above you, and one in your heart space. And then you have one for your divine masculine and your divine feminine energy. Because as beings, regardless of our birth gender, we all have and are made up of masculine and feminine energies. So what happens is when you understand the animal that's there, or when you get that, then you can actually start saying, okay, this is part of my makeup. And we go into sort of explaining what the significance of each direction and placement is. And then we talk about the animal and its gifts. Now, what's super cool about these is every single time I do one, there's always at least a chunk of those animals that people have been resonating with since childhood. And so I'm super cool every time. And then there'll be these other ones that they maybe haven't grown into those attributes yet. So anything in life, we can be in or out of balance. And with the animals, it's the same. They have gifts that they'll work with us on. But if we don't know those gifts or the potential downsides of that, so the animal that's coming to mind is the coyote. It's looked at as kind of the fool of sorts because they trick themselves energetically. And so they're considered the trickster of the totem world, because they get so sneaky and tricky that they trick themselves into doing or not doing things that they actually wanted to or perhaps didn't want to do, right?
What?
So you can then look and say, okay, well, if I have coyote medicine, I really need to be conscious of what I'm choosing to do so I don't inadvertently get myself into something like without really knowing ahead of time what I'm getting myself into. So maybe you read the fine print a little better before you get into contracts with people, right? So it helps us understand ourselves and sort of the way that we show up in the world. And then when we have that awareness, we can cultivate the relationship with that animal, and we can also start to really cultivate certain skill sets within ourselves, because the animals all have gifts that they are here to share with humanity, as we all have gifts. And so they're like woven together. And I really find it helps people oftentimes get a greater clarity for their purpose or like the direction they want to go in life.
Cool.
And it can also help them really navigate the types of things they need in order to stay balanced and grounded. So it can be really diverse.
That's really cool.
And do some of those come in for like a period of time? And
yes. So the 9, I feel, are with us from birth to death. And then we can have totems come in as little guides to help us for a reason or a season. So if there's something really challenging that we need their medicine for, they'll start showing up. So I always encourage people to pay attention. If you start seeing certain animals, or if you start having the image show up on people's shirts out in public, like I had this happen in ways that was continues to blow my mind, and I've been doing this for ages. And so it's cool when you can tap into that. It'll be like, oh, this thing keeps showing up and it's out of place. It's often like going to be something that's kind of out of place to get your attention. And then, you work with it. And that's another thing I teach people, how to work with that. So a lot of people will be like, so why am I seeing snakes all the time? Like, what's up with the snakes? I'm like, oh, well, are you in a position to be shedding old things and connecting with the earth and starting new beginnings? And then it's like, yeah. And I'm like, well, that's why the snake's showing up. And so a lot of times,
so cool.
Cool.
We can read part of what we're going through when we check in with what animals are walking with us or even just showing up in our natural environment repeatedly. There's, they come for a reason. So
that's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be scheduling that at some point here.
I just, it's a cool way for me to get to know people too, because when I can meet you and your energy, your totem animal energy, it helps me really be able to cater things more specifically to individuals as well. It's kind of like I'm meeting you through your animals, which is a thing I do with people with pets too, because I read animal energy and do animal communication as well. And so it's always interesting when I meet people and I see the subtleties that their animals exhibit. And then I'm like, oh, someone just asked you a couple questions over here about something. And then they're like, maybe that rings true for me.
I don't have several dogs.
Oh, fun. That's cool. There's so many things I would love to do.
Yeah, it's a beautiful world, very worth exploring. And I enjoy being a tour guide.
I love it. All right. Well, we're rounding up on about an hour. So do you have AP or Megan have anything else you would like to ask Leah before we toddle off?
No,
it's been excellent.
Been great.
Yes,
Thank you again so much for your time and taking the time to chat with us. We really, really, really
thank you guys for having me and asking such beautiful questions and letting me share some of the things that I'm super passionate about. I love it when I can.
Excellent. So. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, we
we'll
really appreciate you, Leah.
I have a feeling we're all already thinking about what we want to do.
Yeah. 100%. I want to do the moon thing, but
you guys have my contact, so reach out and let me know. And I know you're going to include the stuff in there for
in the
those
show notes. Yep.
So they can get in touch with me if there's anything that they're feeling resonates and they want to ask questions or tap in.
Yeah.
I'm cool with that too. I like to do exploratory things with people. So if you guys or anyone else that's tapping in is not really sure what they need, can always feel free to reach out and just say, hey, this is what I'm dealing with. Is there anything within your wheelhouse that might help?
Sure.
Because sometimes we don't even really know what we need or even how some of these things could help. So, it's just taking the action of reaching out is pretty much the most crucial point in the mix.
Yeah.
It very much is freaking that seal of like, well, when I do that, then I have to actually take those steps. So
yeah, and acknowledge that I might need it for something.
Yeah.
So
Great. All right. Well, thank you so much. This has been so excellent. We're so glad you're here. And if you're willing, maybe we'll have you come back again sometime.
I'd love to. I know we didn't go too much into the spirit realm, but I have fun other things I can share in that space.
I would love to talk about
or others as well. So please.
Yes.
Look at
that teaser. It's already built in.
I know. We don't even need to do much. It's natural.
Ghost stories for next time, right? Saying, you know what? There's all kinds of cool things. And if you're into cool things, you can check it out. If not, that's okay too.
That's okay. Yeah, we're definitely into cool things, especially spiritual stuff. So and spirits and ghosts and all that.
Yes.
So
it's such a fun and just dynamic realm.
Yeah. So cool. All right. Well, thank you so much.
I love that.
Thanks, Leah.
Thank you.
Lovely to meet
Bye.
you.
It was lovely meeting you.
Well, that was super cool.
Oh my God. I loved every minute of it.
Yeah.
I know, like she said, there's a lot more to go into, but I like that we went to just explaining what a bunch of the different parts are, so then it can really set up some of those others. But man, I feel like
yes, when she was talking about the moon stuff, that was like in my stomach. I felt that. Like that was like a core, like something is telling me you've got to do that.
Well, like the earth medicine part, to me, it's like, okay, I do some of that already, so I want to like, what is more that I like could explore with that?
Yeah, that's all fascinating. Really fun. Yeah, I wish we had talked about ghost stuff, but we'll do that next time.
Yeah,
we'll do that next time.
And I feel like if we would have done too much, it would have been maybe muddled. And I liked that we really focused on, the earth and the shamanism part of it. I hope I'm saying that right.
Yeah, because we didn't really... Yeah, we talked more about the shaman aspect than the psychic and medium stuff.
Yeah. So we'll do that next time.
Which we can do with her another time.
Yeah, she's delightful.
She is.
Yep.
So I do want to, this is a good segue. I want to talk about, we have another special guest joining us next week, who is a psychic and a medium and a tarot card reader. She calls herself Third Eye Champagne Psychic. Her name is Kirsten Langston. And I will put her links and stuff in the show notes for you guys to go if you want to like check her out ahead of time and kind of familiarize yourself with her. You don't have to, but if you want to, if anybody else wants to. I've watched a few of her videos. She's really fun. She does a thing called Drunk Tarot. And right.
I feel like I need champagne
probably should.
for
we'll get
when
some,
we are
that's
talking
not
with
champagne,
her then.
but like we should get some of the Snoop Dogg stuff. Yeah.
Sparkling wine.
She told me in an email that she was doing a drunk tarot and Dolores O'Riordan from the Cranberries showed up and almost set our kitchen on fire.
Dolores, you scamp.
Yeah. So she sounds like she's going to be a lot of fun. So that's
I can't
next
wait.
week. And then, well, I definitely would love to have Leah back. So another time.
Oh.
And then also we are still looking for listener stories.
For sure.
Ghost stories, paranormal stories, UFO, anything, cryptids, with the whole shebang. So
the whole kit and caboodle.
Yeah. So if you guys have stories, send them our way.
Them
in. And we'll read them on the show. Or you can leave your voice message either on the telephone number that's in the show notes or on, just go to our website and there's on the bottom, there's a little icon of a microphone. You click that and then you can talk your message.
Like talk
and then
back.
we can play it on the show. So that's what we got going on. So
that's awesome.
We're so technological, you guys.
I know.
So well, thanks everybody for listening.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for being here today. Until next time.
Thank you for listening to the Activity Continues podcast. We really appreciate you giving us your ears for a bit. Please reach out if you have a suggestion for which episode of the Dead Files we should cover next, or if you have a spooky story you'd like us to share on the show. We can be reached at theactivitycontinues@gmail.com or through our website or any of our socials. Links are all in the description of the show. Please feel free to drop us a note and say hi. And join us next time when the activity continues. The Activity Continues is produced by me, Amy, at Collected Sounds Media and is part of the independent Collected Sounds podcast network. We are also proud members of the Boo Pod network of super cool podcasts.
Nailed it.
The Skylark Bell, an award-winning serial fiction podcast by Melissa Oliveri, now in its 3rd season. Follow Magpie and Lucas from small-town America to a remote Scottish island as they attempt to solve the mystery of the mythical Skylark Bell. This podcast is for lovers of ghost stories, time travel, Celtic lore, the unexplained, and the supernatural. Find the Skylark Bell on your preferred podcast platform and at theskylarkbell.com.